Hello and welcome. If you've clicked on this video, perhaps you're in a season where you feel behind, where everyone else seems to be blooming, succeeding, and moving forward with such ease while you're still waiting, still trying, still wondering if you're simply not enough. Before we begin today's story, if you find even a moment of peace here with us, I'd love for you to hit that like button. And if you're drawn to these quiet moments of reflection, please consider subscribing to join our gentle community. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me about one small thing that brought you comfort today. Perhaps it was your morning coffee, or the way sunlight fell across your floor, or simply the fact that you're here, seeking something beautiful. Now take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. We're going to travel together to a place where time moves differently. To a forest where the light filters through ancient branches, and where the earth holds secrets we're only beginning to understand. Are you ready? Let's begin. In the heart of an old forest, where morning mist clung to the ground like a soft blanket, there lived a small seed. Not just any seed, but one that had been waiting in the rich, dark soil for what felt like an eternity. All around this little seed, the forest was alive with growth. Delicate wildflowers had pushed through the earth weeks ago, their petals already catching dewdrops like tiny mirrors. Saplings stretched toward patches of sunlight, their leaves unfurling with an almost audible whisper of satisfaction. Even the mushrooms seemed to appear overnight, proud and perfect in their quiet corners. But our little seed remained still, buried, unchanged. Every morning, as the sun painted the forest floor in golden stripes, the seed could feel the vibration of life all around it. The earthworms moved with purpose. The roots of other plants reached confidently toward water. There was a rhythm to it all, a dance of growth and becoming that seemed to have a pace, a timing, a secret code that everyone understood. Everyone except the seed. What's wrong with me? The seed would wonder, feeling the weight of the soil above like a heavy blanket of doubt. Why haven't I sprouted yet? Why do the others make it look so effortless? Day after day, the seed tried, pushed against the earth with all its might, focused every ounce of energy on breaking through, on becoming something visible, something that mattered. But nothing happened. The soil remained unbroken above it. And so the seed began to believe what the evidence seemed to suggest, that it was flawed, different, not enough, that whatever spark of life had been given to the others had somehow passed it by. The forest continued its symphony of growth around the seed, but now every new bloom felt like a reminder. Every successful push toward the light felt like proof of its own inadequacy. Perhaps the seed thought in its darkest moments, I'm not meant to grow at all. One bright morning, when the forest was particularly alive with the sound of new growth, a family of rabbits hopped into the clearing where the seed lay buried. Their noses twitched as they surveyed the area, looking for the tender shoots they loved to nibble. "Oh, look at this patch," said the mother rabbit, pointing with her nose to the exact spot where our seed rested. "Nothing. It's just bare earth." "How strange." The young rabbits gathered around, their heads tilted with curiosity. "Mama, why isn't anything growing here?" asked the smallest one. "Look, there are beautiful flowers everywhere else, and those lovely ferns by the stream, but here nothing." The mother rabbit sniffed the soil thoughtfully. "I suppose some ground is just empty. Not every place is meant to grow something beautiful." The words fell like stones into the quiet space where the seed waited, empty, not meant to grow something beautiful. As the rabbits bounded away to find more promising patches, other creatures began to notice the bare spot too. A squirrel paused in its gathering, shaking its head at the wasted space. A bird landing briefly pecked at the earth dismissively, finding nothing worth its attention. "They're right," the seed whispered to itself, feeling smaller than ever. "I am empty. I am nothing. The spot would be better served by anything else. A rock, a fallen log, even just nothing at all." The forest around the seed seemed to grow more beautiful by the day, as if nature itself was determined to showcase everything the seed was not. The morning glories climbed higher. The wildflowers bloomed more brilliantly. The young trees stretched their branches wider, claiming more and more of the precious sunlight. And still, the seed remained buried, invisible, forgotten. That night, for the first time since it had been planted, the seed stopped trying. It stopped pushing against the soil. It stopped believing in its own potential. It simply gave up. "I am not enough," it decided. "I will never be enough." But the forest, as it turns out, was listening. 3 days later, as the seed lay in its surrender, the sky began to change. Clouds gathered, thick and gray, and the air grew heavy with the promise of rain. Not just any rain, but the kind of storm that comes to wash the world clean, to shake loose what needs to fall, and to water what needs to grow. The first drops fell gently, then harder still. Soon, the forest was alive with the sound of water rushing through leaves, pooling in the rich earth, seeping deep into places the sun had never touched. And as the rain fell, something remarkable began to happen. The storm was more powerful than any the forest had seen in years. The wind howled through the trees, bending them in ways that tested their strength. The newer plants, those that had grown quickly and proudly, began to struggle. Their shallow roots, which had been sufficient for calm days, now proved inadequate for the storm's fury. The delicate wildflowers, so beautiful just days before, bent and broke under the weight of the rain. The young saplings swayed dangerously, their hasty growth unable to anchor them against the wind. But as the storm raged on, the rushing water began to reveal something extraordinary. Around the bare patch where the seed lay, the spot that had been called empty, worthless, the rain began to expose something that had been hidden all along. Roots. Not just any roots, but a network of roots so deep, so extensive, so beautifully complex that they seemed to cradle the entire section of forest floor. These roots reached down to underground streams, wound around rocks, and connected to the very heart of the earth itself. The seed, in all its months of supposed inactivity, had not been idle at all. While the others had been racing toward the light, it had been building, growing downward instead of upward, creating a foundation so strong, so deep, so thoroughly connected to the source of life itself, that it could weather any storm. An old oak tree, whose own roots had grown intertwined with the seed's network, seemed to whisper through the rain, "Child, you've been doing exactly what you needed to do. Your time underground was not wasted, it was essential. Your growth was not slower, it was deeper. Your delay was not a flaw, it was preparation." And in that moment, as the storm continued to rage around it, the seed finally understood. It had been measuring itself by the wrong standard. It had been looking at the wrong kind of growth. All this time, it had been comparing its beginning to everyone else's middle. "I am not behind," the seed realized. "I am exactly where I need to be." The next morning, as the storm clouds cleared and the sun emerged to illuminate the transformed forest, something beautiful happened. The seed, filled with the wisdom of its deep roots and the nourishment of the storm, finally began to grow upward. It's not in the frantic, desperate way it had tried before, but with a steady, confident strength that came from knowing it was built to last. As it pushed through the soil, the seed carried with it all the depth it had cultivated in the darkness. Its stem was thick and strong, its first leaves were broad and vibrant, and its roots, those magnificent, extensive roots, continued to anchor it to the very foundation of the earth. Round it, the forest was healing from the storm. The plants that had grown quickly were recovering, re-establishing themselves. But they looked different now, humbled perhaps, but also more beautiful for having weathered something difficult. And when the rabbits returned, they stopped in wonder at the sight of the new growth in what had once been the empty patch. "How extraordinary," said the mother rabbit. "This plant, it's different from the others. Look how strong it is, how grounded, how deeply rooted." The young rabbits gathered around, their eyes wide with admiration. "It's beautiful, Mama. It looks like it could stand here forever." As the seasons passed, the seed grew into a magnificent tree. Not the tallest in the forest, perhaps, but the strongest. Its branches provided shelter for countless creatures. Its deep roots prevented erosion and shared nutrients with the plants around it. When storms came, it stood firm while others swayed. And sometimes, when young seeds in the soil below worried about their own slow progress, the tree would rustle its leaves gently and whisper, "Take your time, build deep. Your moment will come, and when it does, you'll be ready for anything." The forest learned to recognize the tree not just for its beauty, but for its strength, for its ability to weather any storm, for the way it had transformed what looked like emptiness into something essential, something irreplaceable. The tree had discovered its own rhythm, its own timing, its own perfect way of being in the world. And so the seed learned that its greatest strength wasn't in growing fast, but in growing deep. That its worth wasn't measured by when it bloomed, but by how fully it could weather life's storms. That what felt like delay was actually preparation, and what seemed like inadequacy was actually a different kind of wisdom. Perhaps our own lives are like this forest. Perhaps we, too, have been measuring ourselves by the wrong growth, comparing our beginnings to other people's middles, mistaking our deep work for falling behind. Maybe the seasons when we feel like we're not enough, when others seem to be blossoming while we're still buried, still waiting, still building. Maybe those are the seasons when we're growing the roots that will sustain us through every storm to come. Your rhythm is not wrong. Your timing is not broken. Your growth is not inadequate. You are not behind. You're exactly where you need to be, building exactly what you need to build, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. The depth you're cultivating in the darkness will be your greatest strength in the light. Take your time. Build deep. Your moment will come, and when it does, you'll be ready for anything. May you find the wisdom in your own deep roots. May you trust your own perfect timing. And may you know in your quietest moments that you are exactly enough. Be well and rest easy. If this story brought you a moment of peace, I'd be grateful if you'd share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, I'd love to hear in the comments about one small thing that brought you comfort today. Until next time, keep growing at your own beautiful pace.